Normally, when I make a list like this, it's a top 15 list, but I decided with such a big topic, favorite movies of the decade, favorite movies of the 2010s, hundreds of movies I've seen, most of them were good, were some bad ones, I'll get to that in another video, but I decided that 15 wasn't really going to be enough, it wouldn't feel like enough, so I ended up making it a top 30 list, and how I'll do it, Part 1, the video you're watching right now, will be 30 to 16. And then Part 2, which will be another video, it will either come out later today or tomorrow. Depends on how I feel after doing this and if I want to go straight into recording another one, because these are kind of taxing recording. Part 2 will be 15 to number 1. And that'll up later today or tomorrow. We'll see. But I don't usually have honorable mentions on this list. Maybe once or twice I'll do an honorable mention on a top 15 list, because I've already got 15. What do I need honorable mentions for? But there are a couple movies that I don't know if you could really... You can't... It's kind of iffy to call them movies, so they didn't make the list because I just didn't feel like they would fit the list, even though I do like them a lot and they would have been high up on the list. I didn't want them in the list and kind of invalidating the list. Those two would be Psych the movie, because again that's a TV movie, so it's kind of different. I feel like I could have put it on there, but I just went with my gut and didn't put it on the list, even though it could be top 10, top 20 easily. I like the movie a lot. I like the show a lot. I might even do a top 15 shows of the decade. I hadn't considered that before, but now that I'm saying it, I'm considering it now. And the other, which I didn't put on my list, was Twin Peaks: The Return, or Season 3 of Twin Peaks. Now that's definitely much more of a leap, because many would consider it a TV show, and I get it is pretty much a TV show. I think 18 parts, 18 episodes. But it's very easy to view Season 3 of Twin Peaks as just like an 18-hour long movie. I feel like that's what David Lynch kind of intended when he made it. That's kind of how I view it. I mean, it's on Letterboxd as a movie, so I don't know. But I didn't put it on the list. I know it would kind of invalidate the list and make it suspect, even though that could have very well been, number 2 or number 3 on my list. It's really good. I guess that might be a spoiler of my favorite movies of the decade. I mean, that might be a spoiler of my favorite TV shows of the decade. So I'll just start off with number 30, and number 30 is going to be Ant-Man. Now the decade has really, a lot of the decade has kind of been defined by these MCU movies. They're a big part of what's going on now, and it seems like they're going to be a big part of what's continuing to happen. So I kind of felt like I needed at least something, and Ant-Man ended up slipping through right in number 30. It is my favorite of the MCU. I do like that movie a lot. I feel like there were 5 or 10 other movies that I could have easily put in number 30. These high up numbers, your 30s, your 25s, whatever, they could all be pretty interchangeable. It's not really until we start getting to like the top 15 where some of these are really locked in. So this first 15, 30 to 16, are almost just kind of like 15 other movies I wanted to mention. So at number 29 we have Infinity Chamber, and this is it's a smaller, more obscure sci-fi movie, which is kind of exactly what I go for. You'll see a lot of movies like this on my list. This is, I think, one of the more recent ones. Scrolling down on my list and looking at... but this was a good movie. I haven't gone to rewatch it, so maybe it's not as rewatchable as the other ones. I might go and rewatch it. I think I watched it on Netflix. I don't have Netflix anymore, so I guess I couldn't rewatch it. But number 28 is going to be Fright Night, and since it's made the 2010s list, it's the 2011 remake of Fright Night, obviously. And I haven't seen the original Fright Night. Came out in the 80s or 70s, so it's not like I had anything to compare it to. I've seen this once or twice. You know, I like Antoine Yelchin and a lot of things that he was in. You know, but Colin Farrell's good in this. David Tennant. I don't know. You know, it's nice to have like a modern vampire movie that isn't so much Twilight. I guess that's kind of the main thing. At number 27, I have The World's End. This is the third movie in the Cornetto trilogy by Edgar Wright with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. I liked the first two. What is it? Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. I think they were both before the 2010s, so you know I don't know where they would have, but you know I liked the first two. I like this one a lot. I mean, I would probably say it's my second favorite of the trilogy, with Shaun of the Dead being my favorite. I just recently rewatched Hot Fuzz. I would definitely say it's my least favorite of the three. Not that it's bad. They're all really good. They're all really funny. I kind of liked the in this one the role reversal of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost characters versus how they usually are in the first two movies in the trilogy. At number 26, I have Game Night, one of the more recent movies on this list. There are a couple movies, one or two, from 2018. I don't have anything actually from 2019. I'll talk about 2019 in another video. But Game Night was really funny. It was kind of an unexpected that I would like it as much. I know I really went into Game Night wanting to watch it just for the cast, basically. You know, there's a lot of people I like in there. Jason Bateman, Kyle Chandler, Rachel McAdams, Jesse Plemons is good too. I feel like there was someone else I'm missing. But yeah, you know, it was just a really good cast that I figured, you know, all these people in here that I like, I might as well go see this. And it was I guess surprisingly funny. Maybe not surprisingly funny, but I definitely don't go for modern horror. I mean, not modern horror. Modern comedies. This might be the only comedy movie on my list, so that says something about that particular genre and what I watch. And then at number 25, I have Frozen. And no, like I said before, I'm not talking about the animated movie Frozen that came out in 2000. Who cares? I'm talking about Frozen, starring Shawn Ashmore and two other people I don't remember. It's the horror movie where they're stuck on a ski lift overnight. I like that movie a lot. It's definitely a movie that I recommend to a lot of people. A lot of good like horror stuff and like body, bones sticking out and effects, and I don't know. I always kind of like movies about like people like trapped in the cold and Antarctica and stuff like that. The Thing, so it's just something that I recommend people watch a lot. I made a review of this on my channel, which wasn't really a review, just more like a PSA to get the message out there to check this movie out. Number 24 is the Lego Batman movie. This is the first movie on my list from 2017, and I do have a lot of movies on my list from 2017. Looking at this list, 2017 seemed like a really good year, and this was this was one of the first movies I remember reviewing on my channel. But this movie just really hit with me. I'm a big Batman fan. I like the whole mythos. Seeing all those villains there was great. And I'm also a Lego fan, so it kind of the best of both worlds. I don't have a Lego movie on this because that didn't hit me as much. But I guess it was just kind of a combination of the two. Being a Lego fan, being a huge Batman fan, so naturally that kind of ended up there. Number 23 is The Endless, which is again another one of those smaller, obscure sci-fi movies that I love. And another 2017, so everything's coming up here. But Endless was a good movie. It's definitely one of the more recent ones that I saw, at least, even though it was 2017. I don't even think I saw it, maybe later last year. But definitely more smaller, contained. It's always nice to see what people or directors can do with smaller budgets and limited cast and crew, and kind of make it seem bigger in scale. And specifically with this and another movie that's going to be later on in my list in the next video, which I'll call back and reference that when I get to it. At number 22, I have Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan is a great director. I'm not much for World War II movies, or war movies in general, I should say. But Dunkirk was just a really good cinema experience. It's definitely something you wanna be in a theater for and see on the big screen. Some good action. I like the interconnecting timelines. He always has these. Christopher Nolan always likes to mess with the timelines and stuff. So that was nice to see. And it's again, I know it's not sci-fi, but still you're dealing with timelines and things going on at different points and stuff, so it's still kind of sci-fi-ish, even though it's really not. At number 21, I have Ex Machina. Again, another smaller sci-fi movie, although this is kind of a bigger, smaller sci-fi movie. I feel like a lot of people have heard of, or maybe even seen, Ex Machina. I feel like it's one of the first A24 movies that really hit big. A24 makes a lot of independent movies, although now it kind of seems like with A24 becoming such a well-known name, it's almost like A24 is the blockbuster. It's like the blockbuster movies of independent movies, because obviously a random person on the street isn't going to hear of A24, but someone who knows movies and watches movies is going to know A24, and know they make these good independent movies. So it's kind of this odd little mix going on here. It's not, of course, it's not the only A24 movie I got on this list, but Ex Machina was good. I kind of really only watched this movie because after Force Awakens came out, I kind of went on a little binge, so to speak, of watching other movies that the people who were in Force Awakens were also in. So, like I watched Attack the Block with John Boyega. I watched, what's it called? Called Inside Llewyn Davis with Oscar Isaac and Adam Driver. I watched Ex Machina that had Donald Gleason and Oscar Isaac. And then there was Midnight Special with Adam Driver, but of course that had Joel Edgerton, so that that got me on board automatically. And yeah, I liked Ex Machina. It was good. I haven't actually seen it a second time. I don't know if that's kind of the movie I need to see a second time to watch it, but number 20 is going to be It. The first It, Stephen King's It. It's kind of weird to talk about in sentences as being such a simple title, like Saw, for example. But I like this movie a lot. It was a really fun movie to watch in the theaters, and I know I'm usually hesitant when it comes to watching horror movies in theaters. That's something else that I'm going to talk about in part 2 with my number 4 or 5 or whatever. But it was really, it kind of surprised me how, I guess I wasn't expecting it to be like it was, because it almost wasn't really a horror movie as much as it was a kind of like a coming of age, like Goonies type of thing or something, or like Stand By Me. but which is also Stephen King. It's a good movie too. But you know, I liked it. I liked the cast. I thought Pennywise was good. It's kind of big shoes to fill, following Tim Curry's Pennywise. I thought it was very good, and they kind of went a different direction with that, just kind of focusing on the creepy, scary nature of it. So, right. At number 19, I have Safety Not Guaranteed, which, as I look at this now, Safety Not Guaranteed at number 19, I think it's my only time travel film on that list. I'm a big fan of time travel films too, so it must be like more like a 2000s thing. If you haven't had really that many good time travel films in the 2010s. Safety Not Guaranteed. I don't really remember what drew me to watching this movie. Maybe, you know, one of the YouTubers I watch liked it, and that made me kind of want to check it out. But it was a good, nice movie. It was an interesting take on time travel that we don't see too much, at least. So, number 18, I have Mad Max Fury Road. Now this Mad Max Fury Road, what this is for me, it kind of fits in with a couple other movies where I watched this movie going into it, and I don't have any previous connection to the earlier movies. Like, this is the first and only Mad Max movie I've ever seen, and you know, it kind of falls in line with Casino Royale was the first James Bond movie I ever saw. Power Rangers was the first anything Power Rangers related I saw. That could have almost made my list. I really liked that somehow. The 2009 or 2008 Star Trek, which if I was making a top of the 2000s, that would be very high up on my list. I like that movie a lot. I'm not talking about that though. Mad Max, it's, you know, that's kind of like it's kind of right up my alley with just the just like the absurdity of it, the ridiculousness, and the stunts, the cinematography, you know, practical effects. Tom Hardy's always good, and, you know, even though he's just like grunting throughout the entire movie, but it was good. I liked it a lot. At number 17, I have I Origins, which again is another one of these smaller sci-fi films. Now, I think I Origins was just another movie that was, you know, another movie that I just kind of, I don't really know how I ended up watching this, but it was also, I liked it a lot. It's a very interesting story, honestly. You know, the whole thing, without, I don't want to spoil anything, but the whole thing of how this kind of came around is the guy who directed this, he had an idea for a movie, and, you know, then he had like an idea for like the prequel to that movie, but the prequel to that movie ended up being I Origins. He never made the first movie, so I really liked this movie as a setup for another story that I really hope that we would get to see one day. I think that could be incredibly interesting. So there's a lot of potential here, even though it's been since, what, 2004? And we really haven't, 2014, and we really haven't gotten anything, any news or anything. And then last on this list is number 16, which is Split. Definitely, this is definitely a movie that kind of took me by surprise. I really didn't know what to expect with this. You know, it seemed like at this point in time, M. Night Shyamalan was kind of out of it. You know, after making a bunch of bombs, you know, back to back. I mean, he had The Happening, wasn't good. Avatar: The Last Airbender. People didn't like The Village, although I did like The Village. I watched The Village maybe a year or two ago, and I did actually like it. I thought that was okay. But I was a big fan of Signs, and I heard The Visit was good. I heard people saying, like, he's kind of coming back now, The Visit. So I saw Split was coming around. Big fan of McAvoy. That looked the premise of the multiple personalities. That looked interesting. And so I just kind of figured, why not? Maybe he is coming back. Maybe I'll be a part of, something good. And then so I kind of like took a gamble on it almost, and I am glad I did. Even though the thing that could have been spoiled for me, the twist ending, it meant nothing to me because I hadn't seen Unbreakable. So like, oh, Bruce Willis, cool. But still, I am glad that I was able to get into that, and it did make me more excited for Glass than I probably ever would have been. So I like Split a lot. It's really good. McAvoy's performance in that is just great. So yeah, that's my 30 to 16. Like I mentioned, there is some interchangeability between some of those. It's not set in stone, especially when I got some 2017 and 2018 movies on that list. Those are still kind of fresh for me, which is almost why I didn't include any 2019 movies. There were a couple in 2019 that could have eked in there, but it's just so fresh and so new to me that it feels kind of odd. I need to sit on it, let it, maybe a couple years. I don't know. 5 years from now, I could remake this list and it could be completely different. But yeah, I'll leave you for now and see you at part 2. It'll be up in either a couple hours or tomorrow. So I'll see you then.